Welcome into New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Not at the studio today. I'm off, but more Knicks news and rumors have come out surrounding Donovan Mitchell. Tony Jones of The Athletic put out a piece, had some good information in there. We're going to break down what he said. But before we get into the latest Knicks news and rumors, this is why you subscribe. Went live 3 hours yesterday on the channel. It was a party. Shout out to everybody that was there and all of the real ones. That was a lot of fun. Was off today, so got to sleep in. I needed it, that's for sure. But no matter if we're in the studio or we're at the house, we're going to get you guys a video as soon as Knicks news and rumors come out. So hit that big red button, subscribe, and help Knicks Now get to 13,000 subscribers. We're doing it for Mark Jackson. Hit that big red button. So let's take a deep dive into the latest coming out from The Athletic. Tony Jones, a beat reporter for the Utah Jazz. He's reporting that the Jazz and the Knicks have had ongoing discussions, but those talks have not yielded progress to the point of a trade being imminent. As those talks have lingered, the Jazz have begun fielding other offers from teams, sources tell The Athletic. As of Thursday morning, the Jazz have multiple offers on the table for Donovan Mitchell from teams other than the Knicks that they deem intriguing and worth pursuing. They are offers, sources say, that the Jazz feel are worth pursuing should talks between Utah and the New York Knicks stall. So, he's saying that the Jazz have multiple offers on the table that they like enough to where if things stall with the New York Knicks, they're going to move on and go make a trade somewhere else for Donovan Mitchell. If you like those offers so much, Mr. Danny Ainge, let's get the FDAs rolling in the chat right now. If you know, you know. Type FDA. I think you can figure it out. Danny Ainge, if you like those offers so much, why haven't you pulled the trigger? Why haven't you tried to make a bidding war happen between the Cavs and the Hornets and the Kings? And the Lakers have now been linked to Donovan Mitchell. Who the hell are the Los Angeles Lakers going to trade for Donovan Mitchell? The only way that's going to happen is if they trade Anthony Davis. And that damn sure ain't happening. And I don't really get it. If those offers were deemed as offers that are worth pursuing, why haven't we heard what the offers are? We heard what the Knicks offer was that the Utah Jazz declined, which was Obi, Fournier, 2 unprotected picks, 4 protected picks. Why did they decline, or why did that offer leak out? But we don't have offers from teams that they deem as worthy as deals that they would pursue. If they were so good, wouldn't Danny Ainge try to get a bidding war between those two teams? No, he's trying just to get the most out of the New York Knicks. And why? And we've talked about it time and time again on this channel. It's because the Jazz want what the Knicks have. They can offer the most first-round picks than anybody that's wanting to trade for Donovan Mitchell. Even in this article, Tony Jones talked and said Mitchell hasn't asked for a trade from the Jazz, but if he were to be traded, sources say his preferred destinations would be of one of these 3 places: the Knicks, the Nets, or the Heat. Mitchell can't be traded to the Nets as long as Ben Simmons is on the roster. And he said the Heat simply don't have the assets that the Jazz are looking for. So you're telling me that he has a list of 3 teams, the Knicks are on it, the other 2 teams on the list can't trade for him, but you won't talk about the other teams that are brought up and say what they can offer. So it doesn't really make that much sense. This really feels like a leverage play. Both sides are having leverage play. Look, it sounds like Obi Toppin, it might be the guy that they're having to give up, and that would suck. But I do want to ask you guys this question. We'll continue to break down this report. So remember, the Knicks offered a trade. I think exactly it was 2 protected and 2 unprotected, or 2 unprotected and 3 unprotected, 4 or 5 first-round picks. So think about it like this. Would you trade Obi, Grimes, 2 unprotected first-round picks, and 2 protected, 4 first-round picks, Obi, Grimes, and Fournier? Would you do the deal? Fournier, Obi, Grimes, 4 picks, 2 are unprotected of your own, and 2 protected, maybe a Milwaukee and a Dallas pick. Let me know if you would make that trade. Type A for accept or type D for decline. I'm just curious what you guys think, because I was talking with Patrick Seatman. If you watch the live shows, you know all about him. We were talking about it last night after the show, if we would do a trade like that, and I think I would. And it sucks to say, because I've kind of been on the table of not wanting to trade Obi and Grimes, but if I only have to give up 2 unprotected first-round picks, and all it is Obi and Grimes, I think I would pull that trade. A lot of talk around the Donovan Mitchell trade have been heating up, according to Twitter, because the Jazz and Lakers made a trade last night. The Jazz, they traded Taylor Horton-Tucker and Stanley Johnson for Patrick Beverley. So, remember, Tony Jones, as well as other reporters, have reported that the Jazz, and he does in this article as well, are in a position to build around a guy like Donovan Mitchell and can do it on the fly and feel as if they can get them to the team they were just a couple of years ago, which was the best team in the Western Conference record-wise and in the regular season. This is what I want to read this piece from what Tony Jones says. He says, trading Beverley, one of a number of veterans that are currently on the roster for Horton, Tucker, and Johnson, sends a clear signal that the Jazz are going young this upcoming season. But the Jazz, sources say, are comfortable with going into the season with Donovan Mitchell on the roster, no matter who else is on the roster around him. If they are persuaded to trade Mitchell, they are committed to the lofty price they have set for themselves. If that price isn't met, they are good with keeping him on the roster once training camp and this season opens up. So, how? And then he says this. The Jazz traded Beverley to the Lakers because he doesn't fit Utah's timeline at 34 years old. So if he doesn't fit your timeline of winning now, and you say you feel you can build around him on the fly and compete, but you also are saying it's sending a clear signal that you're going with youth, how do you connect all those dots? You can't do all of those things, because you can't say you want to build around Mitchell and to win, and by doing it by trading good players for less good players that are younger and going to be better in 2, 3, 4 years. Sure, you have Donovan Mitchell on a 3-year contract. Let's call it 2022. You have not made a winning move all offseason long if you are the Utah Jazz. You traded Royce O'Neal for a pick to get better in the future. You traded Rudy Gobert for players that will help you in the future, for picks that will help you in the future. You just traded Patrick Beverley for Taylor Horton-Tucker, who shot 26% from three-point land last year. Does he have potential? Sure. But he's going to make you better if he ever does in the future. So that means you punted on year 2022 to compete. But if you have Donovan Mitchell on your roster, you are not going to be a bottom 5, 6, 7, or 8 team in the NBA. So you will most likely not be picking with a premium pick in the 2023 draft. So now let's move to the 2023 season, where you have 2 years left on the Donovan Mitchell contract, correct? You have 2 years left. Sure, do you want to go all in when you have 2 years left on a player's deal where rumors are coming out that Donovan Mitchell wants to leave when he becomes a free agent in 2025? Are you really going to push your chips to the middle of the table to compete for 2 seasons with Donovan Mitchell, even though he's going to reportedly wants to leave? Sure, you can do that. But do you really think that you can do it in just a 2-year framework? Because if you don't do it in 2023, then you're on an expiring deal of Mitchell. And Danny Ainge is way too smart to build his entire roster around Donovan Mitchell on an expiring contract. You can tell me that you want to build around Donovan Mitchell to win. I do believe that they are willing to go into the season with Donovan Mitchell. I do believe that that could happen. But they have all intents of keeping Mitchell to trade him. There is no plan in the Jazz's front office to keep Donovan Mitchell and for him to be a centerpiece on this team going forward. Keeping Donovan Mitchell to trade him is much different than keeping Donovan Mitchell to retool on the fly. And I think we're Jazz fans and beat reporters want us to believe that. Look, if I tell you that I'm not thirsty, I don't want any water, you're going to believe I'm not thirsty, right? Because I told you that. But if I go and take a drink of water, that means I was thirsty. Believe what they do and not what they say. Because the media is used as a leverage tool in high-end negotiations like this. Leon Rose is doing it. Danny Ainge is doing it. And right now it seems like The Athletic is a puppet for Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. That's what you got to do to get a deal done. That's why Danny Ainge is one of the best GMs in the NBA at pulling off trades where he gets a lot of assets back. Believe what they say, not what they do. They have not made a winning move all off season long. Royce O'Neal, out, didn't get a player back. The players they got back in the Rudy Gobert trade does not make them better right now. Trading Patrick Beverley for Talen Horton-Tucker doesn't make you better right now. Do I believe that the Jazz could go into the season? Yes. I don't think they want to. That's why they're calling around the entire NBA. Because at first they just called the Knicks. Then it was all these other teams, and they're talking with everyone. Believe what you see. Don't believe. Believe what they do, not what they tell you. That's the moral of today's show. A lot of stuff there. Kind of a different show. No graphics, just at the house. Wanted to chop it up with you guys. Let me know what you think about this trade. Do you think it gets done? Do you want it to get done? Are you tired of it? I'm kind of tired of it, to be honest with you. We're 10 minutes into 12 minutes into today's video. But it is my job here at New York Knicks Now to talk about the biggest storylines around the New York Knicks. That's what Chat Sports employs me to do. And the biggest story around the Knicks right now is Donovan Mitchell. So I'm sorry to all the people that are tired of talking about it or hearing about it. I promise you, I'm tired of talking about it. No doubt about it. Let me look at this article and see if I see anything else. If not, we're going to get on out of here. If you made it this far in the video and at home, peace. 12 minutes in, type real one in the comments section. All the real ones watch every single show and make it to the end. So if you made it to the end of today's show, type a real one. Let me see if I see anything on Twitter here before we sayonara and get this piece out on YouTube. Not seeing much. There is a report, though, that the Lakers are not interested in Julius Randle in a 3-team trade. That's been talked about a lot. Doesn't sound like that's going to happen. I kind of questioned the move last night of Beverly for Horton-Tucker and Stanley Johnson. Does that kind of kill the 3-team trade talks? Because why wouldn't that deal have just been a part of a bigger 3-team deal? Kind of gives me the vibes that they were working on a 3-team deal. The Knicks, Lakers, and Jazz couldn't figure it out, and the Lakers and Jazz just branched out and got a deal done themselves. Doesn't mean they can't come back to it, renegotiate, and get a 3-team deal done. Or maybe, do the Lakers even have intentions of playing Beverly and Russell Westbrook on the Lakers this season? I mean, there's a long history of Beverly and Westbrook having beef. I know when you're making an NBA roster, sometimes you care about that, sometimes you don't. Just things to think about. It's been a crazy offseason. You guys have been awesome. I'm going to get on out of here, though. I'm off. I'm going to go enjoy my off day. Shout out to all the real ones. Shout out to everybody that joined last night. Type real one if you're there. If you're a real one, you made it this far. Light up the comment section. We'll see you later on another New York Knicks Now.